Welcome back. Well, the deadline is approaching. President Trump put an ultimatum out to Iran on Saturday night, warning Tehran must open up the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours, or the U.S. will obliterate the country's power plants. The post was put out Saturday night at 7:44 p.m. The deadline is tonight at 7:44 p.m. Iran is also ramping up its aggression. It launched 2 ballistic missiles on Friday toward a joint U.S.-UK military base on Diego Garcia Island. That island is 2,500 miles away from Iran, taking out of hiding its biggest weapon yet, indicating it has the potential to send a missile that would potentially hit much of Europe. Joining me now is Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow Gordon Chang. Gordon, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. What a surprise. Iran lied. China has been supporting Iran. But what is your take on this latest strike by Iran, and how is China playing a part in all of this?
Yeah, many observers were surprised that they could launch a missile at Diego Garcia.
Right.
But remember, the Iranians have missiles which are far more capable than the intelligence community assesses. They have the components for the Hwasong-15, a North Korean missile, which has a range of 12,000 kilometers, which if fired from Iran could actually hit the United States. The one thing we don't know, Maria, is if that they've been able to put everything together. But the point is the Iranians have a much larger, or at least a much more capable inventory of missiles than everybody has assessed them to have.
Yeah. Well, we did a deep dive on drone technology yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures, where I spoke with 2 executives from 2 different drone companies. I know these companies will be the recipients, some of the recipients, among the recipients of the defense supplemental package, because we need more drone protection and use of drones. President Trump is asking these drone companies to mass produce. And I want to get your take on this, because one of the executives told me that the weapons that Iran is using are largely Chinese weapons. Here is Adam Bry, the CEO of Skydio, followed by Wahid Nawabi, the CEO of AeroVironment, drone manufacturers in America. Watch.
Tactics and the weapons that we're using right now in Iran are super effective. They're also just super expensive. And that's the problem. The problem is the asymmetry in cost and resources, because the Iranians are launching drones that cost thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, and we're launching missiles that cost millions of dollars. That our adversaries are going to be using Chinese drones. You know, historically, China has dominated the kind of small, light, cheap drone market. We've been competing against Chinese companies head-to-head in civilian markets now for a decade. And we're seeing a lot of success, especially as this transitions to more AI and autonomy-based, which is really what we bet the company on when we started. So I think it's a really important moment for drones and U.S. drone dominance.
Just in the first few days of this conflict, Iran had launched over 2,000 kamikaze drones, the ones that, such as Shahid is one of those sub drones. And these are being targeted on U.S. bases, as well as some of our closest allies in the region. So this type of warfare has never been actually seen before. It's never been experienced before until the Ukraine conflict. What we need as a country is the ability to defend against these types of drones in a layered approach. And the layered approach means that you have different mechanisms of defending against them, so you can actually defeat these targets economically, effectively, and efficiently as they are launched and you're being attacked by them.
And Gordon, I want to get your take on the China angle, because it is known throughout the industry that Iran is using either the components from China or Chinese-made drones. That's what we are trying to eliminate.
Yes, one of the drones that you just showed, actually, the shells are made in China. And almost certainly the components inside were Chinese, especially the microchips. This is important because on March 1st, an Iranian drone, which was almost certainly made in China, killed 6 Americans. So really, this is what's at stake here. The Chinese are bragging about their production and sale of drones to Iran. And President Trump, I think, has to cancel his trip to Beijing. I mean, they just killed 6 Americans. So this is more than just an issue of economics. This is an issue of American lives right now.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there are a lot of levers to pull for President Trump. We've got all those Chinese companies trading on our U.S. exchanges. China is now trying to open its economy further to foreigners. It's pursuing trade with global partners. Beijing reporting a record $1.2 trillion trade surplus in 2025, reporting its rare earth exports surged 8.2% during the first 2 months of 2026 compared to the same period last year. I spoke with U.S. Rare Earth CEO Barbara Humpton on the program regarding China's stronghold in this sector. Watch this.
We are beginning to make magnets now. We are producing metals now. Our metals are ready to be included in Project Vault. And then likewise, by 2028, we'll bring on this round top deposit. Before then, we're importing the critical minerals that we need from other deposits outside of China. China has been leading this area, but how are we going to break this stranglehold? By getting to work.
Yeah.
We have metals now. We have magnets this summer, and we will have these critical minerals coming into the market immediately.
So, Gordon, I mean, you say Trump has to cancel his trip to Beijing. Look at what he's doing to try to shore up American manufacturing. You know, leaning on these drone companies to produce drones in America, leaning on these minerals companies to extract minerals in America so that we can be independent of all of this. But there's no doubt about it. China has used this as leverage and is trying to bully its way across the world by holding back these important minerals that the U.S. and the world needs.
Yes, and we will probably get to the point where we will not really be dependent on China in a couple of years. This is a really good story in terms of rare earths. Pharmaceuticals are another story where we are 100% dependent on China for perhaps about 800 pharmaceuticals. And that's going to take longer for us to eliminate that vulnerability. And by the way, we have seen China try to use every point of contact against us. And that means we need to eliminate these points of contact because they maliciously manipulate their leverage against us.
Yeah. Well, that's why the president has the energy agenda, which he's tapping into. And that's why he's strengthened the U.S.'s hand with regard to what he's done in Venezuela and Iran, because China needs the oil, right? And the U.S. is now an exporter. I mean, they were buying 90% of Iranian oil. But let me get your take on Taiwan and where we stand there, because Taiwan is reporting that it will receive new deliveries of American F-16 fighter jets this year to counter China. In 2019, the U.S. approved an $8 billion sale of Lockheed Martin fighter jets to the island to increase Taiwan's jet fleet to over 200. There is a new U.S. intelligence report says that China may not invade Taiwan in 2027. Of course, we know that the idea of going into in 27 came from Admiral Davidson, the Davidson window. But the Wall Street Journal wrote recently that China's military is continuing to develop plans and capabilities to absorb Taiwan by force if directed to do so, and has made steady or uneven progress on that, on those capabilities. The report said Beijing sees absorbing Taiwan as a requirement by 2049, which is the 100th anniversary of the People's Republic of China. This is according to this intelligence report. I mean, I don't know. We don't know what China's plans are, but I know that this president is trying to ensure that the U.S. is strong enough and ready should that occur sooner rather than later. What's your take?
Well, first of all, on that intelligence assessment from the Director of National Intelligence, it's just common sense, Maria. Xi Jinping has decimated the top of the Chinese military. There are no war fighters left. And also, we know that Chinese weapons don't work very well. We saw that in Venezuela on January 3, and we see this right now in Iran. So China's not ready to attack Taiwan. Yes, it can blunder into a war, but it can't launch operations against the main island of Taiwan.
Yeah. Well, we'll be watching all of that. This is a hot backdrop, and that is why the president is asking for a $1.5 trillion defense budget for 2027. Gordon, thanks very much for weighing in on all of that. Really interesting stuff. Gordon Chang joining us. Stay with us. We'll be right back.